Welcome to Health Pod, your self-development hub
on mental health, psychology, and spirituality.
People have a hard time connecting to themselves.
It's a hell of a job. In a woman, it goes through cycles, right? It functions differently in the morning, in the evening, if the moon is full, if the tides are high or low, right? If planets are moving, if we've got a heat wave or not. Yeah, depending on the weather outside. I mean, and not only women, men as well. Does this ever end? Does this ever end? What changes is that you don't stay in the low for as long as you did before.
Welcome back to another episode here on Health Pod. I'm Hélène, I'm an empowerment and embodiment coach, and today we're here with Anfisa, a self-mastery mentor and a Cacao Ceremonialist. We're going to be talking about her own personal journey, motherhood, and self-mastery tips and tools that you can use. Now let's tune into the episode. We have Anfisa here with us on another episode of Health Pod today. I don't know you, Anfisa, but I loved you.
Thank you.
It's a very strange connection, and it's a real pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yes.
And I love to have this time to meet you better and to enjoy your company. I feel likewise, and yeah, really looking forward.
Tell us a little bit more about who is Anfisa. Let us know what magic you're creating here.
Well, at the moment, I am sharing the extension of what I do and what I live by with people around me, starting with friends and family, and then extending into what I call my work. So my work is rooted very much in me and how my everyday flows. And that is how my home is, how I eat, how I treat my body, how I live by a very healthy way to approach all of these topics. And also the way I have built a relationship in my life with my partner that is not the traditional way people build relationships with. So I can tell you more about that in a minute.
That sounds interesting.
Yes, that's a bullet point. And every day for me is a challenge that I approach from a place of, okay, what do I have to learn here? Where is this day taking me? And I'm saying a challenge, not in the way that I have to battle through this, but in a way that, hey, this is interesting. This is the next step on this journey, and there's a next lesson in this. And so by approaching life in that way, I call it self-mastery. This is my theme. This is what I live by. This is my hobby. This is also my work. And from the things that I mentioned, I bring in this aspect into my daily life and basically live and learn every day.
Could you give us some examples?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. So, one thing that pops into my mind right now is building a healthy relationship with food.
Yes, very important.
So, I have so many ideas in my head to what to say about this, but let's just start with where I was and where I got. So, 3 years ago, and a lot of the time before that, I was in a place of my life where food was a comfort mechanism for me. And that turned into a lot of overeating and feeling quite crappy the next day. And it was more like, okay, there's something I gotta show up to. There's an event I gotta attend, or there's a big group of people that I'm coming to see for a birthday party, and all of my system goes, oh my God, I'm gonna have to be there.
Okay.
And a lot of like anxiety and fear comes up, and I'm like, okay, let's just open the fridge. Okay, what do we have? And then it's just until the tank is full, and then a kind of calmness comes over, a fullness.
Yes, it's a fullness.
And then I would be able to be in the crowd a little bit easier.
Okay, so right before the event.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Not
yes.
just the thought of it, but right before you go to the event,
Yes.
you are almost like filling your body with so much fuel that it's really, really grounding you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my way to use food, but also to process like heavy emotions. Like you had a tough day, you're like, what is this? Like I'm so tired of existing here.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's just munch on things, and it does go away. It does bring comfort.
Yeah.
But I saw that really messed my stomach. It gave me a little bit of those extra kilos that then would really hit my confidence and the way I viewed myself, and add to my negative self-talk and my criticism. It would just not help.
Yeah.
So building that healthier relationship with food was more like, okay, what do you feel you need? And following that, but also learning more about what is a healthier diet. What if I have a craving for sugar, what does it actually mean? What is my body telling me?
Yeah.
So we come to a point where I mention the language of the body,
Yes.
right? So learning about my overeating habits and my ways that I did treat myself well brought me onto a self-mastery path of understanding and learning more about the language the physical body speaks to us.
Yes.
Again, through my own skill, through my very own experience of feeling that. So that is a big topic of self-mastery. But that in self-mastery, there is also the language of the emotions, the language of the mind, the heart. So this is what I bring into my programs. And I love to help people step up in their relationship with themselves through self-mastery.
Okay. And this is obviously something that you apply in your life, and through your own experiences, you've also been able to understand yourself on a very deep but also simple level, that you are in a position to be able to simplify it for people that are feeling disconnected from themselves and their bodies and their emotions.
Yes, it's important to speak in the language that people can understand. And I feel that I'm only able to do this. I will speak only about my experience here. So I am only able to do this when I have been there, done that, felt that. And I'm like, girl or guy, I see you. But moreover, I feel you.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, I'm getting goosebumps right now as I'm saying this. This is where a lot of this also deep and also really simple work, like you say, happen.
Yeah. Do you find that people have a hard time connecting to themselves?
Yes. It's a hell of a job. I mean, you've got your physical body that's, okay, in a woman, it goes through cycles, right? It functions differently in the morning, in the evening, if the moon is full, if the tides are high or low, right? If planets are moving, if we've got a heat wave or not, depending on the weather outside. I mean, and not only women, men as well. And then you've got all the emotional plane, that you've got your mental, that you've got thoughts and lots of input from all the media and all the information we've got and all of this. Try connect to yourself when all of these things are just in different directions. It's a mission.
Yeah, you get lost in it.
You can.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely was lost at some points.
Yeah.
I still am some days.
I was just going to say that I feel like even that statement for me personally, there are days that you just feel like, yes, we can do this. Like, you know, mind's on point. I'm speaking to myself in an amazing way. I've, eaten the right way. I'm taking the steps that I have to be taking in my business, in my personal life. And then there are days you're just like, today I just feel, as we mentioned before, I feel like I'm hungover, but I haven't been drinking and I haven't been overeating. It's just one of those days where, you are not working or functioning in your ultimate best, but those days are also okay, and they're beautiful as well in their own right. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you'd like to dive deeper into your own personal development and tap into your most authentic self, you can book a one-on-one session with me. You'll be able to find the details in the description here below. I look forward to chatting with you.
What is important to say here is that, let's say you step onto the journey of self-mastery, you're in it, you're eating better, like you say, you're rocking your business, showing up everywhere, being there with your kids, with your partner, everything, looking after everything. And then those days of complete down still come. So sometimes there's this question like, so why do it? I mean, you're still going to have those low days. And something that I learned from one of my teachers was when I came up to her and I'm like, does this ever end? Does this ever end? And she looks at me and she goes, what changes is that you don't stay in the low for as long as you did before. So an emotional cycle that took 3 weeks to complete, 3 months for some. It's just like for me now, it takes 15 minutes. Okay, day to day, yes. Okay, we're still being flexible here. But it's like I can really tap into the emotion that's coming up, go deep into it, and be back out in a shorter time frame. So this is what changes.
Do you ever find yourself also loving the downs though? The process of it? Like there's a certain... I feel like when I go into those days that there are moments that because I have a big sense of trusting that I'm going to come out of it, there's also a space for kind of surrendering to it is what I would say.
Yes. Yeah. And I also found, again, through my own experience, that there is a part of us that also loves being down, loves being sad. And a lot of my work is like bringing together the different sides that we have in ourselves. Because it's not just, Hélène who's here hosting the podcast or Anfisa who's here sharing this conversation with you. I'm also lots of other selves. I'm my joyful, silly, happy self. I'm the self that goes in the morning, I really don't want to face this day. Yeah. And there's so much. There's me who's gonna come on stage and speak to people, and there's me that's gonna cry in front of my woman in the circle. Like there's so many different selves, and my basically the self mastery is bringing everybody into one place, onto one, like I say, onto one boat, so we can sail to the destination that we want to go to. Because if we've got a fight going on the boat and somebody's chucking the other over and we got to stop and rescue people, I mean, it's going to take forever to get to your destination of your goal or the way you see your life. So this is the metaphor I like to use with my clients. It gets everybody laughing. I love it.
It is a beautiful metaphor. Have you found that there were any... First of all, how did you get into this work? Have you always been doing it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Were you in another field before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I left school 2 years early because I was completely convinced that I know what it is that I'm going to do with my life.
Okay.
And I knew that I want to be in the equestrian industry professionally. So equestrian is working with horses.
Yes.
In the show jumping field.
Okay.
And just going full into that. I was already doing that at the time. So I left school and I went full time into being at the stables and investing 12 to 14 of my hours of my day into learning, working. And that went on for about 8 years.
Okay.
And there was this aha moment, I think this is what you're asking about, of one of my days that I'm in the arena teaching one of my lessons to one of the kids that were coming to work with me. And they're riding this really lazy pony. And I'm there telling them, go on, get him going, you know? Encouraging them, really really in it with her. Her name was Mary. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I really doing here? Yes, I'm here with the kids, making their day better. They're really looking forward to come and spend this time with the horses, with me, and learn. Yes, but what are you really doing here right now? And standing in a sandy arena with sun on my face, which I did, I lived outdoors, right? This is one thing I knew. I didn't want to be in the office, so I went for the outdoors.
Nature,
Yes, and that was basically my definition. Going back to it, I was like, I think I can do so much more with my life than tell kids to go in circles and do diagonals and tell them how to get the pony going. And this was one of my simplest lessons, but still, that was a lot of my day. And I set off to travel.
Okay.
But that was a very big decision to make. Because I was waiting for my Cypriot nationality then in order to go and get my dream job in Germany with the Japanese Olympic rider, do the thing that I left school for and was praying every day to happen. And I'm there sat on my bed looking at my passport, at my phone, being like, okay, I really need to make that phone call. The contract is signed already. I need to make that phone call. The person's been waiting for me 3 years. And I'm looking at this, and there's this moment after the aha moment, and I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to be stuck in a place for another 9 to 5 job for 6 days a week and just, do this thing.
Sounds like that was a big moment for you.
Yes, it was really scary. But I did the decision of following my feeling, and I went to travel. Don't get me wrong, I really loved working with horses, being outside, being with the kids and having this connection. It taught me a lot. Before our talk, you asked me about intuition.
Yes.
And this is where a lot of it got developed and a lot of it put to practice, because you're working with a 600 kilo animal that you gotta feel. There's a way that they communicate with you, and it's not words. It's the body language, but you also gotta feel them, because one little tension,
they pick up on that, don't they?
Yes, but if you pick up on this, you can really build a good relationship, but moreover, meet their needs.
Okay. Yeah.
And when somebody meets your needs, you can really calm down and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And that's basically what was my mission every day, with different characters, which were different horses. Yeah. And everybody had their own little glitch and their own preferences. And I can describe them as people to you through this. Yeah.
What I hear you saying in that is you were so clear in your passion when you left school. And then at some point in your life, you realized that your passion is no longer your passion, and that there's something else trying to be born there, which a lot of the times I think we have this preconceived notion that what we choose is what we have to stick with.
Yeah, so much. I mean, school put so much pressure on you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've personally been through that, so I completely resonate with your story. I want to know, though, where did you travel to?
So I went a little extreme,
okay,
as I usually tend to do. So I packed.
You don't look like an extreme person.
I know, but like I told you, there are different sides. Yeah.
Okay.
So I booked my trip around Asia for 4 months from start to finish, from the first flight to the last flight. And I had 15 flights.
15 flights.
Yes. My God. And I packed my handpan, the instrument that I play, packed my surfboard, chucked all of my clothes in my handpan, which at that time was not a great idea because I was like a turtle taking basically all of my house on my shoulders.
Do you have a photo of that? I want to see.
Yes, I do. I will show you. I got a huge smile on my face with my bleached hair from the sun. And I'm just like, this is the best thing that happened to me. And I set off, my first destination was India.
Okay.
And this is where a lot of what you asked me about happened. So the background before I went there was that for 2 years, while the whole situation with, changing jobs and was not even in my field, I was going through a really tough time in my life with family and lots of problems there. And it was really like knocking me down. And a friend of mine told me about Cacao Ceremonies.
Okay.
My first impression was like, sounds dodgy. Like, don't tell me that you sit in the circle, people talk about their problems. Some people cry, but then they feel better and they leave. And you drink something. Like, what on earth is going on there? It took me 4 months to ripen up. And then I was like, let's go check this thing out. And I went. And that's where my 2-year dedication to this process started, because from my first time. No, that was still in Cyprus before I left.
Oh,
because
okay.
I want to tell you how I took cacao to India, but I need to tell you where that came from.
Okay, so you were already testing the grounds with having ceremonies, going to other people's ceremonies and experiencing the cacao. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a big point. Because a lot of things were happening in parallel in my life, and there was a lot. So at that time, this was also unfolding. And I remember going to my first one. I think you even asked me, like, you tried cacao for the first time. How was it? Like, what, did you like it? I mean, because it's different from the chocolate that we know. And there's me receiving my cup. I drink it and I'm like, ooh, whoa, okay.
It's potent, isn't it?
That's strong. That's bitter. That's not the chocolate I know.
Cheers.
Cheers. And a spoon of honey, asking the others how they get on with it. They're like, yeah, just put your honey in it. I'm like, okay, I listen to you. And then I walk into the room and we have an internal journey, and you know, and at some point I open my eyes and I see people doing energy work with each other, and this huge, again, aha moment went through me, and I'm like, wow, the witches and wizards of this world still live. That was my...
Were you shocked by it or amazed by it?
Amazed.
Amazed.
Yes. That was like my inner child that loves magic. And I was like, wow, it's here. And that's what really inspired me to be there. But also that I felt that I could really tap into myself, which I wouldn't put in words then, but it really helped me to deal with all of the shit show. I don't know if we swear at this.
Yeah, you do. Go ahead.
Podcast that was going on with my life, and my ways of dealing with it were not healthy, and this was a very much healthier way to do this. I mean, how about drinking chocolate and feeling better? Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So there I was doing this for 2 years.
May I ask you,
yes,
what were you going through at the time?
I was going through I wouldn't say it was the biggest fear of my life, because my biggest fear of my life was losing my dad, but I actually lost him from my physical reality with him being deported for 2 years. I mean, not being able to have contact with him. And that really shook my ground, because I have this really deep and beautiful relationship with my dad, and he is somebody that really, really impacted me. And the person that you see today, a lot of it is him and his unconditional love and support. So when that happened, it really got all of my shadow out. I felt really insecure, really scared, really questioned everything. I was like, what is this world? And lots of anger, and all of this dark stuff tends to come up for us when yes. And that really helped me, because that brought me internal support. So this is what cacao does. She brings an internal support for your body, for your mind, and for your inner feeling. Yes. So the body is literally the magnesium and the deliciousness of chocolate, when you add honey to it. At least that was my experience. And then for the mind, it's actually neurochemicals that we see in brain chemistry when we are in states of happiness, bliss, and love. So there's the PEA and something similar to dopamine and serotonin. The name just passed my memory right now. And this all basically supports you on your physical body level.
Okay.
But also she is known as the heart medicine.
Yes.
For the 5,000-year history she has with the ancient populations of Maya, the Aztec, the Toltec people, and what is the name? Civilizations. There we go. And so that's a little bit about that. And I really felt her support. And I took her with me when I started to travel.
Okay.
It was like,
how much did you take with you?
half a block, which is like 200 grams. I'm like, I'll have
For
a
4
cup.
months.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. And on my first week in India, the community that I was staying with in the jungle, they're like, oh, we heard you've got ceremonial cacao. I said, yeah, this is my cup. Yeah, I like to have it once a week or something. They'll find me there in the kitchen cooking it. And they're like, we would love to try a cacao ceremony because we've never experienced one. Like, we've tried all of the other stuff, but yeah.
How old were you at the time? I'm just like trying to paint a picture in my mind of like how old Anfisa was there at the time and what was she doing.
I think I was 23. Yes.
Okay, so you were in your early 20s.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And basically, I'm faced with a question. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I didn't think about the fact that I won't have cacao for my next 4 months or whatever. I'm like, I'll figure it out. Doesn't matter. Let's share this.
Which is what it's for, right? It's like the concept is for sharing as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, when do you want to do this? Let's set a time and date and let's gather. So it was like a holy banyan tree that people could come to pray in the jungle. Huge, yes, like the trunk of it is all of this room. So we set it. There were 10 people that showed up. I poured cacao to everybody. And I just did it.
So naturally, I'm sure as well.
Yes, but then, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, when I was there and everything was right and it just flowed and I knew it was the thing. Yes.
Okay.
And I was in ceremony for 2 years, 2 times a week, sometimes 3, right? Listening to how the process is guided, listening to other people's experiences, listening to things going completely wrong, So I was exposed to this space for a really long time.
Yeah.
Every ceremony is about 5 hours. So, I mean, that's a lot of hours.
You were holding these ceremonies? You were
No.
You were attending other
I was
ceremonies?
attending them and doing my own work.
Yeah.
My own internal work.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then everybody really loved it. And they told me, they really encouraged me to do something with people gathering in circles. So that really got me thinking, because that was the first week of my trip. And I'm like, okay.
Isn't it amazing how the universe shows us signs? God, creation, like right from the beginning.
Yes.
But, we kind of puzzle the pieces together later on in life. When you look back, as you're saying the story, you're now able to say, I already got a hint of what I was going to be doing.
Yes. And when I got overexcited, I got a slap. So, I mean, a lot of people talk again about all the beautiful side of being in flow and following your life path. But your life path is also the slaps and the difficulties and the challenges.
Yes.
And going through them is what gives you this mastery and knowledge of yourself. And my slap was that I really twisted my leg.
Oh.
A few days after that. I couldn't walk to save my life. India, with a stick, in the jungle. You know what's worse? I don't know if any of the listeners traveled, but the toilets they have in India?
I do not know the toilets they have in India. I guess.
So they're the ones that you gotta squat and it's a hole.
So there's just a hole in the ground.
Yes,
okay.
which is fine.
Okay.
But when you don't have a leg, this is a challenge. So
how are you managing, Anfisa?
Oh, if I have to tell you that I had to pee in a bucket and not go downstairs
Yeah.
because I literally had to crawl. But even that wasn't possible because any tiny movement of my leg was just extreme pain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then you're like, whoa, I find my life path. I might know what I'm doing. And then you're peeing in a bucket with no leg in the jungle going like, what the hell is this? And, yeah, completely alone on the other side of the world. And hey ho, you've got another 4 months to go.
Did you break it or was it just twisted?
I didn't go to check.
Okay.
I hoped it was twisted. I'm like, it's twisted. We're just going to rest and we're going to
work
okay.
through it.
Yeah. So that was kind of my initiation, let's call it. And my journey unfolded from there. Learning how to hold myself in all of my tears and pain. Take myself from country to country on one leg. Attend to all my needs. Discover that there's no good physiotherapy in Asia and you got to do it yourself. How do we do this? Okay, let's research. Let's learn. Let's test.
You were figuring it out all yourself.
Yes.
On many different planes.
Yes.
Physical, emotional, mental.
Yes.
Oh, it sounds like it was a very interesting 4 months.
God, the stories I have to tell.
I was going to ask you if you could share one of your most memorable stories.
My most memorable moment was sitting in the jungle with one of my friends that actually came to the ceremony, and we were talking, and she's like, hey, you gotta come and do this where I am. I only did it once until then. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, come to Germany. Come host these. I know lots of places that would love to have you. I said, okay. When? Let's do February. All right. I remember agreeing to this in the Jungle Cafe there with her. And that was kind of my goal. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go do this. And over the course of the 4 months, I was like, okay, let's do a course. Let's get educated about this a little bit. And
So you did a course in Asia?
as I was traveling.
As you were traveling?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I did it online and went to Cacao Ceremonies
Okay.
wherever I was to just see and try. And then on my last, let's go around, back to Sri Lanka. So I spent a lot of time in Bali after that, went to Singapore, and I was in Sri Lanka, sitting on the floor with all the stamps in my passport going like, whoa, you got here. And now you can finally surf because your leg is back. And you've been carrying the surfboard for nothing all this time, which was also frustrating at the time. But yeah, and I just emailed all these places and I booked myself in to a place I've never been, with people I'd never met, something that I never did outside of my country, let's say. So that was a very big moment. There was a topic you wanted to touch upon.
I
remind me.
did. You mentioned getting over your toxic ways around sensuality, which is a
Yes.
huge topic for us women.
Yes, my God.
So was there a moment or a time that you felt shame in your sensuality?
God, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Throughout most of the years of my life.
And what did you feel shame about?
Letting myself be treated in ways I wasn't proud of. The more animalistic nature of humans. Yeah, because I started to be drawn to the spiritual path and I'm like, oh, what is that? And that, the human need for that as well. So I could
Okay.
never go beyond that. I was never meant to. But that it would always be a part of my desires and wants and how I
What do
perceive
you
my
mean
body.
going beyond your physical desires? Explain that
Like,
to me.
I mean, sometimes in spirituality, they talk about like overcoming your desires of sex and what you want in this life and transcending that and going to a higher plane of being, and
Okay.
which is great. I think there are ancient religions that really support this and have a lot of knowledge about this, and for sure there are pros and cons like everything else in our world. And for me it was always this middle path, so I could never go to one or the other extreme, so I had to find a place to mediate the two. Yes, there's sacred ways of being, but there's there's sacredness in sex and sensuality, and like merging the two together. What to mention about this? Yeah, I had my own journey with it.
Okay.
I had my own journey.
I know there are many women
Yes.
who have a lot of shame around their own bodies and how they look, how they've been treated, and having immense sexual desires, but we have been taught and shown from previous generations, and especially being raised in a culture that's more narrow-minded, not as open-minded as other countries overseas, and I'm sure that they would love to hear your perspective of this. You know, having been through feeling this shame and experiencing it, and how you came out of it or started to accept it more so.
Yeah, this is where the part of not doing everything alone comes in. So healing shame and coming to terms with myself really came through my partner, and being in a healthy space where I was taught and encouraged to love my body, because there was somebody else seeing it as beautiful and teaching me to see it that way, and abandon my own lens of, you know, focusing on my thighs or focusing just on one boob going lower than the other. It's like, zoom out, love. Look at you. Right? He was really teaching me how to see myself. And even on those bloated days, and even on days where I felt terrible. So that was a huge part. And also, like, how do we get there? Like, how do you find the person that will be able to hold the space for you or teach you that, or even be in a space to support you through that? It's being able to spot the healthy signs of human relations. Being able to spot what fulfills me, what gives me energy here, what feels good. And this is where we again tap into like the self-awareness, which really connects to the theme of self-mastery, where learning the languages of your body, mind, and emotion, you will be able to understand yourself more, and therefore be able to choose more wisely and see, hey, that's good for me. And this person I have a really strong pull towards, but it usually gets my stomach to sink. And after that, for 2 hours, I'm a bit jittery and a bit insecure. Okay. And with the other, well, I feel really at home. I feel like I can open up. I don't sweat as much. You know, it's just like simple things. It's like, okay, so what actually serves here? Like, are you able to see it first and then to choose the better version for yourself?
Yes.
And that was the work of the months of traveling, and also the time of the cacao ceremonies that I was attending before. Is learning my own languages and then being able to choose the better for myself. And in that container, I could say the shame of the body, of sensuality started to transcend, because there was somebody else in the boat with me that had a really, first of all, healthy relationship with it.
With himself first.
Yes. Okay, we all have a little flaws, but at least in that sphere. It was a really healthy relationship with it, but also seeing me as somebody he would like to support and not own like we usually tend to. And give me a safe space to explore this, which I think is huge for humanity. Huge. So, and this is where it connects to, I wanted to share about the retreats I hosted in the last 2 years before I got into my journey of being pregnant and bringing my child into the world. Retreats. So for 2 years, we hosted...
Where? In Cyprus?
Yes, in Cyprus. We hosted conscious intimacy retreats with my good friend and working partner, Manuel Paradiso. And we created a safe container where people can really explore their sensual nature and intimacy without the sexual interaction. So that also added to the safe container, where we can really tap into our vulnerability, because underneath all of this topic of sensuality and sex is really the really vulnerable part of us that we just cannot hide. This is just us when we come out. And we did 2-day retreats where we created this container. And we had a blast. I mean, I think everybody really enjoyed this and said how, there is no space in this world where you can come in and explore this with others in a space that is unjudged. Okay, safe in a way that you're not agreeing to something more than just
your own comfort zone.
Your own comfort zone. And learning more about yourself, but also having a lot of fun.
That sounds like something I've missed.
It's good stuff.
Yes. Yeah, that's fascinating stuff. And I'm so happy that we have this kind of stuff on the island. It's so needed. Do you find that you work mainly with foreigners, or do you have a mix of different people?
People of the world.
People of the world
is my crowd.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
And within those retreats, did you have specific exercise that you did that you can share with us? Take me through it. I'm trying to envision.
Well, it is a journey from start to finish. So bringing forth just one little piece is not going to give the whole vision of the puzzle, because we have a step-by-step journey where you enter, you get more comfortable, and you come out of it. So one thing that popped in for me now is we were really exploring the topic of desires and fantasies.
Okay.
So we had assigned time where everybody would connect to that.
Okay.
And this is not something that we usually put time aside.
No.
To
think about or explore. Or,
Exactly. So knowing more of that is also knowing yourself more and knowing what you want to bring into your life potentially. So that was one of the big parts, and also sharing them.
Sharing them and releasing the shame around them as well, and having the confidence to comfort to allow another person into what those desires are. You were doing it in a public, a safe container, but it's not just you and your thoughts.
Absolutely. But it's funny because when everybody starts to share it, they're like, oh, mine is very similar. Oh, mine's the same. It's like, oh, me too. It's like, okay. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's normal.
It's amazing how interconnected we are with each other, but we spend so much time in our own minds that just by verbalizing some of our own thoughts, fears, emotions, desires, it takes such a load off us. And then other people are also in that space to say, oh, you know what? I'm also experiencing the same. And you think, yes, I don't feel as isolated. I don't feel so alone. And this is the beauty of the circles and the retreats and everything that you do. Let's touch upon the concept of spirituality. Because I find that there is so much out there that it's confusing to people. What do you define as spirituality?
So for me, it is the connection to the invisible. Because there is certain reality that our senses can pick up. And there's another reality that we have other senses to pick up. And in the beginning, before we started recording, you asked me about what are my beliefs? And I think my beliefs are deeply intertwined with what I believe as spirituality. So, like I said, it is this relationship with the invisible. And for me, one of the beliefs I stick to and have really close to my heart is that I choose to see that we live in a friendly universe where life is happening for me to learn, to enjoy, to take my soul from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And learn something new or become something new and bring that into the world or not. And instead of seeing the universe as something bad, that everything is being destructed and we're all going to die in a way. And okay. But what helps you go through your day? Yeah. For me, it's that this is a friendly universe. And the more good I do, the more good will come back to me.
And the more I focus on it, the more...
And the more you focus on it, the more you see it.
Exactly.
So that really.
Okay. Was there a moment in your life that we also hear about spiritual awakenings? Okay. Was there a moment in your life that you experienced a spiritual awakening?
Having spoken to people who have truly experienced it, I don't know if this is... Yes, but based on what they shared with me, it was very intense in the body and it really lasted for days. I didn't have a similar type of experience, but I did have moments where I felt extremely connected to this intelligence that guides this universe and that, we're one and the same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
It sounds really cliche, and whatever I say is never going to touch that note that I'm trying to bring forth.
Yeah.
It's unable to be put in words. But yeah, just feeling a part of all of this was a number of times, yes.
Yeah.
I would call them higher states of consciousness.
And while you were mentioning that, what came through is working with cacao or the intelligence of the plants. That's what was coming through as you were saying that. And I see that you use a lot of herbs and plants with the work that you do. Could you share a little bit around that? How you use these plants?
So, just elaborating more on spirituality, it's everybody has their own way of connecting to something that's beyond them. And I think for humans, it's important to have something that they can believe in that is more than them.
Okay.
Because that potentially puts you in a great relationship with life and a good balance of a healthy ego and just a greater awareness of you living in a world that also lives side by side with you. And in order to help connect to something that is invisible, higher than you, spiritual, there are different tools. So some of the ones we know are like meditations, dance, different herbs,
crystals.
Yes, ceremonies, crystals. It depends. In history, we can find lots of examples. And for me, it was cacao, potentially. And again, like I say, I always refer back to my own experience. So having lived through that, having experienced that, I bring that to the people. And for me, I call her she. It's a very feminine kind of feeling and spirit, I call her. So the way I would envision cacao if she was a person,
Yes.
it would be that she is this powerful, beautiful, confident woman that is a mother,
Yeah.
that knows how to care and nurture in ways that you may have forgotten. And she helps encourage you to create that space of gentleness, of care, of nurture inside. And I feel that when we are in the state, it is easier for us to tap into something that's higher than us, something that's beyond what we feel, because our system is no longer overstimulated by all of the anxiety, emotion, and stress that we tend to live in and be stuck in. And she just creates enough space for you to take a breath and see between, not beyond, between all of this. What else is there aside from your fears, your anxiety, your problems? There is something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have this physical world, but there is also something else. We don't see it. But if we create the space to sit in quiet, go out to nature, or sit under the stars. If you spend the night under the stars in the forest, I bet you, after shitting yourself with all the noises and I'm getting over that, I bet you're going to come to a feeling of, there is something more than me.
Yeah.
You know?
And these are such easily accessible tools that we have around us. But because we have been living in a world where there's so many screens and so many distractions, we forget the simplest things, like going out into nature, spending a night under the stars.
Yes.
Bringing ourselves back to what feels like home. Yeah.
Yes. And plants help because they have their own physical qualities. And if you, again, create the space in your day to ingest cacao or lavender or have a rose tea, and you really give yourself time to just do that. Not like, yes, I'm scrolling and I'm getting a phone call and there's just no space again for anything to come in. Then you can greatly benefit from the plants and their effects and what they do in the system. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be cacao and the things that I mentioned.
In our lives as women and as mothers, it takes a lot more effort to find those moments of peace and presence, I find. And especially when you have young children, like we both have, that need our attention all the time. How do you navigate these? I feel like they're two worlds that ideally they'd be perfectly integrated, but how do you navigate it?
Making sure I attend to everything.
To everything?
Everything.
Okay.
So, I need my time to sit with my cacao. And I am responsible to fit it into my week.
Okay.
I need my massage because I've been carrying the baby all day and my back is going.
Okay.
Right? Finding time to spend with my partner, make love, have that connection. To have my social time with my friends so we can chat away and do my things. Plan my work hours. My time alone.
Yeah.
My rest time. The food I'm going to eat. My exercise. Do I need to keep going?
You sound very, very organized.
You have to be.
Yeah.
This is again where self-mastery comes in. Like, you really have to be responsible. And this is what I teach a lot in my program. It's consistency.
I like how you said
discipline.
that, responsible.
Yeah. Being able to respond to your reality. Learning your languages of yourself, body, mind, heart, but also finding enough space in your day to fit in all the things that you need to have.
Yeah. It's almost like we have this expectation, but then if you don't make time during your day to match those expectations of what you want your life or your day to be like, then you are not able to meet that. So therefore, if you don't allocate pockets of time to your baby, to yourself, to your body, and you feel depleted at the end of the day, then it's probably because you haven't made space for the things that are important to you.
Yes, there's a certain amount of self-betrayal, which is something we all have to some extent. But I would rephrase that and not put them as expectations, but as rituals for yourself or goals. Then you know that from Monday to Monday, you have all of these 6 different topics you got to attend to. And fit them into your calendar where you have space, and make sure you stick to it, because consistency is what's going to give you what you want and this fulfillment at the end of the day. And stay disciplined, because if you got to be there at 9, better be there at 9.
And do you find that baby comes into the schedule at all?
Of course.
You know,
yes, he's everywhere.
Unplanned.
No, he's part of it. He is the whole thing. Yes.
So do you take him everywhere with you?
A lot of the places. I was going to bring him today.
Okay.
But yes, I take him to a lot of my places. But I also learned how he sleeps and how he functions, and where he is able to show up in different places, and how long his naps are, so I can potentially fit in my alone time for 30 minutes and just make sure I've got no distractions, because my timer in 30 minutes is going to go off, and that's my chance gone. So no procrastination, just I don't have a chance to betray myself, because if I do, I really pay for that.
That's an interesting way to
How
see
do you
it
do
as
it?
well. How do I do it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I've got 2.
I've got 2. I find that I try and also do everything, but I've learned to make myself a priority. And at first, I used to find that I was being selfish. But with time, I realized if I'm not selfish and I don't show them how to make themselves a priority with all the things that I have, you know, as my goals, as my dreams, as my visions, then I'm showing them a lack of self-love and a lack of self-discipline. And without those key values, then you kind of get lost in other people's stories or in other people's visions. And yeah, so I prioritize my time. I feel like there's a lot of time management, but there's also a lot of allocated time for them. So when we finish this podcast, I know that half of my day, my daughter's got a play date. I'm taking both of the kids from summer school, and we'll be having a play date here. So I know work in the morning, afternoon kids.
So you also fit it into an hourly schedule, and that's the way you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't always work out.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
But at least I'm trying.
Yes.
It's like the process of, just trying it out and figuring out what works for each person. And for your schedule during the day as well, some mums work from 9 to 5.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have the flexibility.
Yes.
And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is where it's important to ask for help and learn to accept it, because that was a big theme for me too. But going back to what you said about being selfish, it's like everything. There's 2 parts to it. There's a good selfish and there is a bad selfish, let's say. And in our society, we usually call somebody selfish when they're not taking into consideration anybody else, and they're just living in their own bubble, completely isolated from anything and everything, and just do you get an image?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a person in the bubble going like, just do my own thing here, don't care about anybody else. But there's a good selfish that's like, hey, in order for me to be a part of this world, I gotta take care of this.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I will most probably lash out on the next person that tells me you took my parking.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Or I won't have patience with my kids when they come home. because I didn't have time to eat, to rest. My back is still hurting from yesterday. I'm going to have to rock you to sleep. And yeah, I mean, last time I saw my friends, I forgot even when that was. And then there's no, I call it ground or support for you to stand on in order to deal and face your life. So it is our responsibility to build that ground for ourselves, show up to it through discipline and consistency in order to constantly have something to stand on, to face all of these changes in the program, difficulties. We spoke about the low days. And again, this is a big passion of mine. This is something I also teach and support people with on my mentorship program. And it's incredible to see how much this changes the person's experience of life.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure you would also have an example of a day where you're like, I had no time for me and I have to deal with a lot right now.
Yes.
And how you felt on those days, and on days where you're like, hey, I recorded a podcast. I already attended to all of the other things. You know, I did my laundry or whatever it is that you do in your day. I had my nice cup of cacao, and hey ho, I've got a play date with my kids now.
Yeah.
And how that feels in the body.
Yes.
So,
Are there days that you feel that if you haven't done enough, you are also able to praise yourself? Like you can surrender into that?
not really.
Okay.
No. I'm just like, okay.
Because, you know, I feel like I hear a lot about, you know, going into your more feminine side, which is obviously like going into the creative and surrendering. And there are moments that you truly feel like, you know what, today I'm just not going to do anything. I want to procrastinate.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't have to be feminine. I mean, feminine can show up as the seductress, the mother, the powerful woman. I mean, she can be a lot of things. She doesn't just have to surrender and be, going with the flow. She can also do that. But yeah, I have those days. Yes, I even know that it's usually my Wednesday in the week where I'll just flow and I'll be home.
Okay.
And there's not much I gotta do today. There's no need to put the washing machine in 3 times and run up and down the stairs to do the clothes. Or it's just more tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have those days, yes.
Yeah, amazing.
But I wouldn't, like, if I have an off day completely, I really try to spot the things that I betrayed myself on, I didn't show up to, or the things that are at the back of my mind for 3 days and I still haven't done them, or message the person or call them to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this. And like not piling up things. That I tell myself, sit down, get your notebook, write it all out, attend to it so we can move past that.
Okay.
So their surrendering into the flow will be actually getting lost in this.
In the process of getting organized?
In the process of letting everything just kind of go in its own course.
Okay. Are we talking about Wednesdays now specifically, or
a tough day?
A tough day. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Today's episode is sponsored by Nomad, your local experts on sourdough bread, mouth-watering pastry, and specialty coffee. So for those of you that would like to start your day right and get your caffeine fix, Nomad is the place to go. Let's tune back into our wonderful episode.
So you mentioned you have a psychologist.
Yes.
Okay. Is that something you'd like to talk about? Was that a conscious decision?
I think being in the work and working with people, you, first of all, have to take care of yourself, because this is where the concept of integrity comes in. So in order to sit in a circle and not be biased, triggered, judging the other people that are sharing their own ideas and problems, but not necessarily a circle, just sitting with anybody.
Yeah.
You have to have attended to those parts inside of you in order to be truly there. and truly hold space and not occupy this with your own problems and make it about yourself. So this is a part of my self-care. I have either a practitioner who's holding space for me, or my psychologist, or I go to a massage session. I mean, I have different people that attend to different needs that I have, and I will pick and choose what I'm a little bit missing on or need support with in order to show up in the world with the most integrity. Having processed my own shit.
Yeah, precisely. You know, and having been able to sit with yourself enough to understand that, you know, I have my own things to deal with, but I need to deal with them by myself with another practitioner, another psychologist, and come to a space where I hold space for people, having done the work myself.
Yes, because otherwise it's not a safe space.
Yeah.
And also you cannot help them or teach them or support them or mentor them if you haven't done this for yourself. At least this is what I stand by. I know there are people that do work that is not part of their life, which is okay. I don't know how they do this personally. But I know there's a lot of practitioners that say that work with cancer patients not having had cancer, for example. Yes, or working with people who are addicted not having been addicted, which is fine. It's their passion. It's something that blossoms them. Great. I mean, we need these people in the world. It's amazing. But in my own experience, like going back to it, the only way I feel that I can truly, wholeheartedly help people with is by going through my own experience and having attended to my own problems and challenges.
Have you ever been to a space where you can see that the space holder hasn't done the work on themselves?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's more common than not.
I know.
It's more common than not.
I feel that.
It's like everything. I mean, to find good quality, there's always less, and medium quality, there's always a lot, and bad quality, there's plenty of anything. I mean, anything. Clothes, food, services. So it just, it spreads to everything. So in this work, there's also that. So, like anything.
Is there any question that you have for me?
Yeah, what was the biggest lesson in your life until now?
Wow. So many. Okay, I have to pick. One of my biggest lessons was the power that we hold in our bodies. And that came about through my lack of connection to my body. And through dance and movement and physical exercise, I found that I would lose myself in a very meditative state. And when I wasn't practicing or working out, I didn't feel like myself. And therefore, when I went through the process of staying pregnant and putting on a lot of weight, the way that I came back to rediscovering that I can be well emotionally and mentally was through the physical.
It was like an access point for you to well-being.
Yes.
Okay. Was there something that happened that was like a turning point and you're like, whoa, okay, I really got to learn about my physical body?
I was already, I was always very attuned to my body. I'm very aware of emotions in my body. And they've always been my indicator with like, I would always say like, I know it's that because I feel like it's that. I would be in tune with it. And that's always been the case. So when I went through a process of disconnecting to my body was when I realized how connected I had to be. Yeah. And that was a process of me putting on 10 kilos, of not exercising, of just going so deep into my thoughts and having really bad eating habits that I lost myself. So when I found myself in the gym again, or exercising, or just moving my body, or going out for runs in nature, I was like, this feels good. Mm-hmm. This doesn't feel like what I feel like the rest of the day. So I need to be doing more of this. And that's exactly what I used when I was pregnant. And then I had to come out of depression because I went through that after giving birth. And so I think that's one of my biggest lessons, that we have to use this body as much as we can.
Is that what helped you also get out of the depression that you just mentioned?
Yes.
Yeah. It's your tool.
Yes, it's my tool. My body is my tool.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much, Anfisa. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experiences. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure having a chat with you and having this cup of cacao that we are working through. And hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and inviting me. It's been a pleasure and real fun.
It has been.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this episode. It's been an absolute pleasure filming it for you guys. If you like the work that we are putting out into the world, please make sure you like this video and you subscribe to our channel. It really helps the work that we do.
And if you would like to follow our journey on our IG account, as well as learn more about our services, we provide everything for you in the description below. Thanks for watching.